the hero and the villain, the good thoughts and the not so good thoughts, everything, wherever we put our attention, whatever we look for, in the end, we are searching for the one thing. We just don't know it. It's a flow, it's a happening. You know what you're really doing is saying it's all divine will. I'm an instrument of what I speak. I'm an instrument for what I do. I'm an instrument for what happens to me. Play this flute as you will, is what's being said. It's what's needed in order to move creation in its place, in its rhythm. Okay, Mala, I think we finished verse 10, but I'm not sure. Are we? Yes? Okay. So let's begin from 11, please.
ये यथा मां प्रपद्यन्ते तांस्तथैव भजाम्यहम् मम वर्त्मानुवर्तन्ते मनुष्याः पार्थ सर्वशः.
Arjuna, howsoever men seek me, even so do I respond to them. For all men follow my path in every way. Howsoever men seek me, even so do I respond to them. For all men follow my path in every way. Very interesting. In its simplest way, Paramatma, Krishna Bhagavan, is saying what? Everything is me. Right? If you remember, even go back to what Gurudev had said last week, where your mind goes, wherever you go, I'm there. But everything means, I remember Gurudev talked about it from the perspective of even the thoughts that come to us. Where do they come from? From that source. Remember that? He briefly mentioned that the thoughts of inventing a helicopter or whatever, but it's not just creative, innovative, genius thought. All thought come from the source, which is Paramatma, from the divine space. Everything. The hero and the villain, the good thoughts and the not so good thoughts, everything, wherever we put our attention, whatever we look for, in the end, we are searching for the one thing. We just don't know it. We're distracted. We think that we're in search for the object, but what we're really driven for is what? Something much deeper. Peace, happiness, but it's not a momentary peace or happiness that we're seeking. Are we? No, you hope that the last or the next gig is it, and then you never have to think about it again. Don't we think that somehow? Oh my God, this thing will be it, and then I'll be set. Set in what way? Not just a home or financial, but something internal is set. A sense of fulfillment, deep sense of contentment. If you look, everything we're looking for is something more than a fleeting, temporary state of importance or happiness or value or goodness or whatever it is. It's lasting. And the only thing lasting is what? The universe, right? Consciousness, Paramatma. And that's really what he's saying. It doesn't matter what you're doing, what you're seeking. If you realize that, if we realize that, oh, I'm moving into a job and then, that's going to make everything happen, or a relationship or children or a new home or another car. If you realize that under it is a search for the divine, you become free. Then the previous, I don't remember what number it was, but the previous shlokas apply. It becomes a type of karma yoga, an action that is put to something higher than self-gain that's momentary. Are you following what I'm saying to you? That is what that is saying. But we never really think about it that way because our mind has a tendency to do what? Divide, compartmentalize, separate. So we have this thing, God means good, and so good thoughts, positive thoughts, that, and if I pray and if I'm there, God is there, and for everything else, God is absent. But that's not the case. We know from chapter 2, it's all a play, display of consciousness having an experience for the fun of it, right? For the fun of it. So if we remember that in life, we operate with more freedom and we are free. Then we don't have karta. Then it becomes an act. It was my Apple Watch. Then it becomes an act in service to or in offering of or to the divine. Are you with me? It's a very beautiful sutra, actually. At first glance, it's like, what? But then if you read, you see, howsoever men seek me, even so do I respond to them. It's up to us. It's your choice what you seek, where you go. If you want the small thing, you'll move towards the small thing. But it's all underneath it all. It's all divine, nothing else. Are you hearing what I'm saying to you? No? Continue.
काङ्क्षन्त कर्मणां सिद्धिं यजन्त इह देवताः क्षिप्रं हि मानुषे लोके सिद्धिर्भवति कर्मजा.
In this world of human beings, men seeking the fruition of their activities worship the gods for success born of actions follow quickly. In this world of human beings, men seeking the fruition of their activities worship the gods. For success born of actions follows quickly. Okay, so if you want worldly things, you pray to the different energies, to the different gods, and as long as you act, success can follow. Look, remember what is this chapter called? It's yoga of what? Action. Yes? So prayer alone is not enough. Why is prayer alone not enough? I don't remember this verse number, but you do remember what was told is action is inherent in existence. Shakti, energy. Energy can mean movement. Movement can mean action. They're all synonymous words. It is inherent. If you are in a body, if you are in the manifest world, there's no way to be without action. Remember, this whole chapter started with, at one point, Arjuna was saying, I don't need to do anything. I'm just going to go into the mountain and be, a sannyasi and do nothing. And Lord Krishna is responding to this by saying to him, no, you cannot be without action. It's inherent. And what are the actions? What are good actions? How do you spiritualize daily life? What makes an action worthy, not worthy? That is what this whole chapter is about. So if we want worldly success, God is saying, what is Lord Krishna? I don't judge it. It's all there. If this is what you want, you go for it. But eventually, where is Lord Krishna taking Arjuna? To the highest, past the gods. And Gurudev talked about in the video where you go to a temple and it's the same devta, same energy in different form, specifically for what you want. You remember that from last week? But it's not enough just to pray or to have a dream, as he said. There must be action that follows. What kind of actions is something I'm sure we will get into as we continue, but that's what Lord Krishna is saying. As long as you act. Go ahead.
चातुर्वर्ण्यं मया सृष्टं गुणकर्म विभागशः तस्य कर्तारमपि मां विद्यकर्तारमव्ययम्.
The four orders of society, Brahmana, the Kshatriya, the Vaisya, and the Sudra, were created by me, classifying them according to the gunas predominant in each and appropriating corresponding duties to them. Though the originator of this creation know me, the immortal Lord, to be a non-doer. So this one verse makes people toss out the entire Gita. And it's not because the verse is bad or controversial, it's because people don't understand it. And their minds are in conflict about it, and it's projected onto this verse. Correct? So first things first, he says it very, very clearly. The four orders of society, you know what they are: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaisya, and Sudra. We'll get into it in a bit. They were created by me. So the first argument people will have is, oh my God, how could he be any sort of a divine or an enlightened or even a good human being? Because look what he's doing. No? Dividing up people and putting them in roles, and everything from prejudice to racism to anything you imagine becomes a conflict through this verse if interpreted the wrong way. But what is he saying? Classifying them according to gunas and according to their corresponding duties. So first things first, it is not by birth. Those who criticize this verse, they look to this verse as if Krishna Bhagavan is saying, if you are born into a place, then that is who you are and you cannot move out of that. That is class structure. That is not what Lord Krishna is talking about here. That is not what he's saying. He's created predominantly by nature. We all have our nature, no? Some people have the nature of wanting to be an artist. Some people want to research. Some people, they don't want to be bothered with anything. They just like doing mechanical things. Some people have the nature of wanting to be a businessman. There's a direct focus. Some people are interested in Shakti, in force. Based on your nature, based on the gunas, I have classified these four people. And according to duties. Is this clear? What is generally speaking the guna, or is what? We would say that's a person who wants to learn. There are people, they want to do research, they want to read, academics. They're not bothered about anything else. In fact, a lot of parents will say, what are you going to be? Be a teacher, be a professor. What do you want to do being a research scientist? There's no money in it. Do you understand? Because the guna of that person is what? Accumulation of making money, wealth. And then this conflict happens between the two because there's a judgment. But that is not what is being said in this shloka. Are we registering this? It's very important that we understand that. Brahmana means anyone by their nature who is curious, who wants to learn, who wants to explore, who wants to investigate, who wants to dig deep into the nature of life and matter and so on and so forth. Oh, I want a PhD in math. What for? I remember when I was young, I loved geometry. I didn't know what I could do with that. I loved calculus. When you're young at that time, what do you do with that? I didn't know. I said, my dad would sometimes, well, Dad, I love math, geometry. What are you going to do? Draw triangles? That was the response. He was a businessman. I'm not saying, that I would have gone and done geometry and he didn't let me or anything like that, but that is a quality in a person. And then that matches their profession, quote, their corresponding actions, then we say, Brahmana. What is a Kshatriya? What is their primary focus? It's Shakti, it's strength, valor, right? It's not just a warrior, police force, firemen, even people who like really are into extreme sports, if you think about it, could be falling into this category. Strength and valor and Shakti is the focus. Are you hearing me? They don't care if it'll get them anywhere. Their just thing is, I need to climb the highest mountain. That's it. No, what are you doing since the age of 3? I'm going to be an Olympiad. The businessman, the guy who wants to just be a mechanic and do work with things, he's going to say, morning, noon, and night, what are you doing getting on these trampolines and falling and breaking your head over being an Olympic? And what are the chances of that? No, but that person says, it doesn't matter. My chances may be 1 in 100 or 1 in 300. I really want to go for this. It's a different quality of that person. The nature is different. Correct? You can move from one to the other. It is not by birth. That is what has to be understood. And then the merchant, as they say, their focus is wealth, accumulate stuff. Becoming successful in that. It's not about how much I know, how much I read. Like, well, what's it going to get you? How much money is it going to make? That's the bottom line to everything. Yes, but then there are those who, I don't want to stand behind. I don't want to have my own business. I don't want to figure this out. I don't want to convince people to buy or don't buy. Sales, no. If you think about it, seems to be an overwhelming resistance in the organization around it, because maybe it's not in our nature. I'm not sure. Who knows why? But do you see that there's a quality that's very different from the previous two? And the sutra is not, oh, it's a lesser person. No, there are people who like the mechanics of things, the construction of things, the building of things. We call it, labor, but labor is a way of saying exerting certain kind of physical effort versus mental effort, intellectual effort. Physical effort is what we're talking about at some level. And so he's saying, I created these, the gunas. So none of those qualities are better or good or worse. It's just part of his creation, Paramatma's creation. I mean, somehow that's very freeing to see it this way, to see what he's really saying, isn't it? To see that it's not, oh, they're like these. Even parents, you'll see, I don't know where we went wrong. We did everything we possibly could, but this one wants to be a dancer. Okay. You didn't go wrong. Each one comes in with their own nature. Now, you could move them from dancing and tell them to go do engineering. I mean, seems to be a very profound profession. But I have seen, they will say, Didi, can you talk to them, because they don't understand. It's not going to get them anywhere. What they really want to do is design. I mean, design, Didi. Maybe you could convince them to do computer design. They don't see. The child from a very young age had a certain nature, a certain tendency. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. These qualities come into it. You follow? And depending on which nature is yours, one of those gunas, sattva, rajas, or tamas, one of those gunas is more lively. It's not that it's the only one. So one who is curious, wants to learn, the nature of that person, they tend to be mellow, a little bit more introspective. They isolate, meaning they tend to move in their own little bubble of learning and growing and understanding. They're sort of in their own universe. What quality is there? That's not so much rajas. That's not tamas. That's a quality of sattva. There is still some rajas, very little tamas. But if you look at a kshatriya, where it's about strength and shakti, what would be the predominant guna? Rajas, isn't it? And little tamas, there is also some sattva, because otherwise then it's just go and slaughter anybody and everybody. It is not like that. There is strength, there is rajas, there is this movement, there is this sense of go, conquer, achieve. Yes, it's very strong, rajas, but also some degree of sattva is there, lesser tamas is there. Similarly, the businessman, I'm simplifying the conversation, but you heard what I said, accumulation of things, What will be the strong quality? There'll be rajas, there'll also be some tamas and lesser sattva. Why? Because in business, you need to figure out how you're going to make a $2 thing into a $20 thing. So the mind goes a little like this. So somewhere Lord Krishna will have to define for all those 4 groups of nature of people, let's say, what is correct action. And we've been discussing this over the other chapters, right? Ethical, moral, legal, one that serves not just yourself, but others around you. Like Gurudev said, if you have wealth, you have responsibility to share it. Did you do the meditation this morning? Did you? Do you remember? Well, it was in Hindi, but perhaps, it was translated. I don't know. But one of the things he said is, see, here we are in this Kumbh Mela, and so much sharing. Everybody has come together. We are sharing food to the other camps, and the other camps are doing other things. And it's time to share the merits. He said, those who have wealth need to share it with others. If you have talent, you have some gift, we share it with others. Similarly, those who did tapas, a lot of these people who are in the Himalayas doing tapasya, forbearance and going through, how do you say tapas in a forbearance? No, tapas is burning through something, allowing the small mind.
Penance, right?
Penance. No, because that sounds like a punishment. Tapasya is forbearing through something. It's much more beautiful than penance. I don't like it, but I will go through it because there's something higher. It's taking on short-term pain for a long-term gain. That would be tapas. And the long-term gain is the ultimate. So what they do to make sure, as Gurudev said, the arrogance of, see how much tapas I have done, because that also becomes a thing to be proud about. They go to the river, and the kumbha dunking in is saying, okay, I let that tapas also go. I share it. I offer it into the river to keep me and away from arrogance. And then he said, so we are all here, and there is such great merit in coming to this Kumbh Mela. Look, 40 crore, I have no idea what that means in numbers, like millions or 10 million or what, but it's a lot. 40 crore of people have already come. There are 140 in India, so there are 100 crore who could not make it. And how about all those who are far away who cannot make it? So for them, let's meditate and share the merits, this good will and high energy and vibration that we have received. Let's share it. So there's a mindset that's required. And for that third, for the merchant, it's certain degree of rajas, certain degree of tamas, and sattva is there when that business person, when the wealthy person, the one who has a lot, whether it's grains or wealth or whatever, knows to share it. Are you with me? And then if you look at the last tendency, what would be the strongest? Tamas would be strongest. It's not a laziness. It's this sense of what I need to do, I do. I'm not interested in more. Tamas doesn't bring up a lot of curiosity, a lot of interest, a lot of like, what else is there? Let me see. Let me do my work. I want to go home and just relax. I don't want to run around. I'm happy with what I have. Do you see the quality of tamas? We have misunderstood it, but it is not that. You know? So that's what Lord Krishna is saying. I created this, and based on their duty. Though the originator of this creation, the rajas, the tamas, the sattva, these tendencies, if you will, know me, the immortal Lord, to be a non-doer. This sentence is what you have to really look at. Remember, he said in the previous verses where he says, I act. If I did not act, I would be not a good role model. I'm simplifying. The world would follow what I do and there would be chaos. You recall that sutra, that verse? That's what he said. So though he also, Paramatma, if you look at creation, there's constant action. There's constant movement. All the gunas reign from morning till night. As the night comes, tamas starts to come in. We settle down. Morning comes, there's a little bit more activity. It's all there, but it's not done by doing. There's no doership in it. It means it's an eruption. It's a happening. It's not calculated, because if it were calculated, then again we might start to argue, oh, one thing is better than another thing. It's what's needed in order to move creation in its place, in its rhythm. Are you hearing what I'm saying? It's very beautiful. The immortal Lord has always been, always will be, and is now. That's what it is. And I am not a doer. It is how it is. That is the immense sort of statement. Know me, the immortal Lord, to be a non-doer. No, what makes this chapter for me very rich is because Paramatma is saying, I'm not only Paramatma, but this is how it is. This is bigger in some ways than the Vishwarup that happens later on when Arjuna is shown the divine form, if you will. Because these words then, if you remember some of this, then it's as good as remembering the Lord, as good as connecting with the divine force. When you remember some of these things that we discuss, we're connecting back to something bigger than the small mind. It's as good as remembering the divine. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Go ahead, Mala.
न मां कर्माणि लिम्पन्ति न मे कर्मफले स्पृहा इति मां योऽभिजानाति कर्मभिर्न स बध्यते.
Since I have no craving for the fruit of actions, actions do not taint me. Even he who thus knows me in reality is not bound by actions. Since I have no craving for the fruit of actions, what happens to us? Our actions are troublesome. We're troubled by our actions. We get exhausted by it. And then the fruit that we want from our actions also troubles us. Yes? What if it doesn't happen? Why did this happen? The fruit. We have resistance or craving for the fruit. And we're also troubled by our actions. Oh my God, I'm exhausted from running this business. But you want the money. And then you make a bigger risk. And then you say, oh, why did I do this to myself? And what if it doesn't happen? We are continuously troubled by our actions and the result of the action. True? Small or in a big way. That's all it is. It's troublesome. Why? Because where do our actions come from? What is the problem? Why are the Lord's actions, because he does act, he has no craving for the fruit of his actions. So what's wrong with our actions? Where do they come from for us? They originate out of some kama, some desire. Yes? Paramatma is saying my actions, they have no wish for a desire. They do not come from a wish for something, a desire for something. Even a manifested, he's talking about, I take birth. He's already said that. When the dharma is down, I take birth. I come again and again, yuga after yuga, I am here. And he takes actions. Even the birth, it may seem like it's a purposeful birth. It is on certain level, but it's a natural state of life, of divine force. There is an up and there is a down. When things go down, there is a form. Birth is taken. And then there are actions to bring that dharma up. But our actions come from desire. Not only that, we want the desire to be fulfilled. And when it's fulfilled, are we done? No. Another desire arises. Even if I really want a car, so you get a car. I really want a house, so you get a house. I really want to get married, so you get married. I really want children, so you have children. Did it stop? No. You can say, oh my God, why did I get married? I really want to be single. Not possible. Oh, I really want children. It's a lot of work. I love my kids, but it's just a lot of work. It's too much. I don't know. I think I need to move back to India where I can afford it. There's more problems. Next desire comes to manage the previous desire. What Lord Krishna is saying is, I'm not a doer. I have no craving for the fruits of my actions. Actions do not taint me. Our actions are tainted. Oh, I did good. I didn't do so good. That's not how it's all happening. I think the thing that I'm hearing in all of these is to really recognize to what degree life unfolds. And there isn't this plan and strategy and purpose behind it. It's an unfolding. And we each play our part like on a chessboard. There's a piece. The pawn moves one diagonal this way or that way. You know, the knight moves in a very specific 1, 2, 1, 2, right. The queen goes all over the place. The king does what it does. Each piece plays a specific role. Yes? Each piece is necessary. The board is necessary. There's a happening around how these things get moved. If each piece starts to take their role, wanting to be somebody else, it doesn't work. It's an unfolding of a game. No? And that's what he's really talking about for the moment. At least that's how I take it away. Since I have no craving for the fruit of action, actions don't taint me. Even he who thus knows me in reality is not bound by action. If we know this, it's a flow, it's a happening. You know what you're really doing is saying it's all divine will. I'm an instrument of what I speak. I'm an instrument for what I do. I'm an instrument for what happens to me. Play this flute as you will, is what's being said. And if we see that, then we are free. Then who knows me in reality is not bound by actions. If you know that these actions are not my doing, it's a call to let go of doership. Karta. Those who do what? Bhog. The one who has karta has the bhog. Bhog means they either enjoy or suffer. And Lord Krishna doesn't have any of that. It's a happening. This is how it is. I am not the doer. If we can see that there was a verse that said, everything treated as prasad, then you are free. Listen, it's even just a thought, okay? Don't worry about do I really feel it or not. But in the moment, okay, in this moment, this is what you want me to do. I'll go with it. But remember, actions have been defined. Don't use it to manipulate into actions that are not ethical, not legal, not moral, and so on. Yes? Okay, I think we have to stop here because you're fading. It sounds very heady. Talk to me. You can share your stories now. I might stop you, but you could share. What do you take away from this?
So as we're talking about the different gunas, so is it? Now I was wondering. I was reflecting back in my life, and somehow I felt like different gunas were predominant at different times in life. So I'm not sure if there is an underlying guna which defines everyone, or is it like that where certain times of your life, like for example, I felt like early part of my life there was more of the uh, the guna where you would want to learn, there was more curiosity and all of that. And as years passed by, it changed and it changed.
No, but we're talking about your nature. If you were to, and you have to look, there is a predominance in one's nature, right? Overall, I mean, in today's world, we move so fast from one thing to another thing in terms of what he said, duties, right? We move. As a child, you have one sort of responsibilities and duties, and as an adult, you have another sort, and as we grow older, they become different. But underneath it all, there is a nature to one. And based on that, the gunas rise and fall. But sometimes we're completely out of sync with our nature. Today, this happens more than ever before because we're not so clear. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, if I look, my nature is to dig into things. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. I may not even know about it, but then I want to hear more. I like the richness and the depth of any conversation. If you sit with me and you start talking, oh, how are you? My stomach turns. Blah, 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 for a little, and then I just, okay, shut up. It becomes too much for me, for whatever reason. I like to dig. I could take one shloka and just keep digging into it. What if? And then conversation goes in so many different ways. It could be about anything. And it kind of makes sense, in some way or another, I'm in service in providing awareness. You could say education, teacher. I don't particularly like those words, but in bringing awareness together within oneself and within the people around me. So if you were to ask yourself, what is your nature? Predominant nature. Are you, number one, a seeker of knowledge? Curious? Are you one who's driven through force and shakti and strength, or business, or just the mechanics of things? Let me be. I don't want. People say, a lot of people come, and say, Didi, I don't know, I'm really happy with my job, but everybody wants me to move and do things and go ahead. Haven't you heard this before? Yes or no? I'm fine, I like my job, everything's okay, but my wife or my family or husband thinks I need to be doing more, I'm so good, and they don't. But there's that feels, and then they say, oh, he's lazy. He's not lazy. something, there's a nature to that person that speaks to contentment. But the world is on steroids for more. And so we lose track of our nature. You have your hand up. Go ahead, Kushpinder.
I wanted to ask in the same thing like you mentioned, there is curiosity when there is sattva at that time. So that's one of the like correlations. But I've noticed in my life, in the things that I'm interested in, like, it could be chanting, it could be anything I could I could learn about something for hours and that curiosity is there. But if it's a topic that I'm not interested in, it could be fashion, it could be people talking about someone, I have zero curiosity in that. So,
Yeah. Curiosity doesn't mean you have it for everything. The mind moves in a certain direction. It shows in very subtle ways our nature. We just don't look for it because we're very literal about what Lord Krishna is saying. And I'm suggesting expand, look with a much wider lens on it. Do you see? And the more we align in that, the easier it is. I cannot say, oh, my whole first, 30 years within Art of Living was going from new place to new place to new place, starting up new areas. That's clearly Rajas Guna. That's Rajav Gun. But for what? See? That curiosity, that learning, that spreading of awareness, that's a sattvic quality with a Rajas there to go. If you ask me to do that for, face cream, I don't think I would do it. Okay. Aarti, go ahead, please.
Hello, thank you. So I'm listening to all these for quite some time. I'm also doing the Ashtavakra through Art of Living, and the Kriya and all is becoming like really good to me. Um, somehow, currently, so I'm going through one the interview process with one of the very good company for a very good role, which has a very good technology in terms of help people. I'm in healthcare. So I got really connected to that product and technology so much that going through this interview process, somehow I just became so impatient, or my mind just got so attached to that it's very hard for me to quiet my mind, even though I listen to all these and then I feel it's gonna just happen, whatever's gonna happen, it will be just a flow. I cannot control anything. But then again, my mind just constantly think about it and I'm not able to kind of separate out, and I'm feeling practically to implement these in this right situation, I'm just not able to do it, and I don't know how to do it.
Well, don't use your head to get out of your head. That's my first advice to you. Exercise. Move your body to get out of your head. Forget the knowledge. You have to know when to use knowledge and which piece of the knowledge. Okay? Yes, it's true. Actions are spontaneous to thought. Yes, it's true. You have choice over the action, but not the results. Yes, it's true. Knowing that, what does it do? It raises awareness. It doesn't solve it. It raises awareness. Awareness of what? Tell me. Awareness of what?
Awareness that I'm not able to control anything, or this is
That's
not
true,
in
but
my.
awareness of what? It moves the mind towards the divine. Awareness that there's a higher power. That's where it moves you. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
That in itself is worth a lot. Okay? And then you're trying the breathing. Okay, you did the breathing, that's now. Then you have to move the body. Mind and body are connected. Breath is in between. Directly connecting with the breath to move the mind is not working for you. Then use the body, move it, which then will move your breath also, which then will. And it's not slow, casual movement. It can be yoga. Maybe speed up some sun salutations. Maybe go for a run. Go take a cold bath. Do something physical because it's all connected. Yes. And if you find your mind caught up in the result, I love the product. Oh my God, this job, I had the interview, I can't be impatient. Then turn your mind to see what would work for you. That's what Lord Krishna is saying. You know, turn your mind towards the direction. Start to see a gift within the whole thing. That, okay, you keep giving me these thoughts, this awareness, perhaps you're behind me. And then build. Look, life is a journey of building trust. Do you all realize that? Trust in what? The big self, the
Yes.
divine. This is the journey. Boil it down. Life is a journey of building trust. That word is faith, if you want, is also okay. That word is so lightly used because in an egoic frame of mind, we operate from fear, not trust. Conditioning and conditioned operating of life is operating from fear, scarcity, lack, not trust, not faith. So all this knowledge, at the end, Lord Krishna is going to say, do you have faith in me or not? Do or don't. That's where it's going to go. All these verses is just to build the, okay, there is something else. You follow me? Okay. Vishal,
Thank
go
you.
ahead.
Yeah, Didi, I had a question about desires and chasing and transitioning from one desire to the other. How do you know when it's too much? Too much of like transitioning from one desire to the other. And is there ever a state where that moving from one desire to the other ends?
No, it's always too much. I mean, the thing is, one desire fulfilled will lead you to more desires, which leads you to more desires. Unfulfilled desires will create more desires with frustration. It's a vicious cycle. That is how it is. No,
Okay.
we're propelled by desire after desire, and the more desires we move, if desire is your driver, it will create more desires, layers of it. That becomes a vicious cycle. So Lord Krishna is saying, let your driver be something more than the gain of your desire.
Right. So you're talking about karma yoga, but sometimes action itself becomes a sort of an addiction, right? Because you just like doing something and it doesn't matter whether you get the result or not. I mean, basically you're just living like a, more towards on the lines of karma yoga. But action itself then becomes the desire to act itself becomes like a second nature. I don't know if
Oh,
that makes
that's
sense.
right. That's what that last verse was, right? Krishna Bhagavan is saying that, our actions are propelled by desire. They're not propelled out of innocence and simplicity, meaning where you disconnect your goal and your desire and you keep moving. There's something beautiful that Gurudev has said where he says thought and action are spontaneous. It's not desire and action. It's
Mhm.
thought and action are spontaneous. Everything else is manipulation. When do we go into manipulation? When there's fear, when there's anxiety, when there's no trust, when there's no confidence, when there's no faith that what this action is going towards will yield good results, but let that be your will. Do
Yeah,
you follow me? Are you
it's more
guys
it's more
following me?
ego driven, basically, is what you're saying. It's more driven out of your limited beliefs and fears and
That's right.
okay, got it. Okay, thank you.
That's correct. It's this a very fine point. I don't know that I understand all of it, but I find it fascinating. And I have very clear experiences of hearing somebody could have had a plan, for, I don't know, worked on it for say, just pop into the room and they're sharing it and they immediately thoughts come and out of my mouth come, well, wait a minute, if you do that, then this and then that instead, why don't you do it like this? It'll look like I'm criticizing or complaining or something, but no, my mind sees that picture for a second and the thought, the intuition is prerna. It comes through and it moves into action, and it can appear like it's rational or logic, like somebody was. It is not even logic. It's not like I'm connecting the dots. It's just like driving. You're driving and everything, there's so many layers of actions and thoughts and muscles and whatnot involved when you drive, but it's so spontaneous that you almost feel like you're doing it without thinking. Does it not? All of you who drive?
Yep.
You're just doing it, but your brain is thinking, there's processing, there's balance going on, you're taking in so much data, but you've surrendered to it. You have confidence, you have trust, you have full faith in it, so that you move and you're continuously driving, you're still in action, but nowhere do you say, what if I don't get there? And it involves so many mechanics to drive. But that thought and that action has become very spontaneous because you have gotten out of your way. A new driver is in the way of driving. That's why they go this way and that way. Their mind is continuously at it. Haven't you seen that?
Yeah.
That's strategic. That's manipulation of the information. You don't get out of your way. It's really what's being said. And when you get out of your way, it's all just a flow. And there's a reminder that, oh, this is all happening. There's something greater, bigger at stake here.
Okay, thank you.
Niva, go ahead, please.
When you shared about the gunas and the qualities, the way you give examples and expanded it, I thought that was so beautiful. And I wanted to ask you, so when you're more in knowledge, I mean, these sessions and all, it has really helped me. When you're more in knowledge, is it that it naturally becomes in your nature? Like, for instance, for someone like you give an example of Kumbh Mela and going to the river and letting go, or, giving it to the divine, or for a wealthy man to give the gift, it just becomes more natural than the doership.
Yes. The more we invite this benevolent principle, divinity, whatever you want to say, the more you connect to that higher power, the more what happens? Chitta purification happens. We have been discussing this, you're aware of this, right? Just like the pranayama and the breathing and the meditation and the seva and the chanting helps us to purify. When our mind is in the knowledge, what does it do? It purifies the intellect, sat-buddhi arises, so that you have clarity of thought. This we could call intuition in some levels. We have clarity in our memory. We allow the events to come and go instead of being bogged down with them. Our sense of belonging increases. We are not locked into our little tiny world imploded in our head. We become more sensitive to the people and the life and the situation around us. They don't have to say anything. You just realize, and there's a natural impulse to reach out to say, everything good? Are you okay? Maybe there's not enough room to say, oh, I see you're not okay. Maybe we cannot say that, but we do in our own way reach out. Don't you see that? Yes? Chitta purification happens when we're in the knowledge. Why? Because the knowledge and the divine are one. I want you to hear that. It's one. And from all different directions, our good fortune is to do that. And it's not so that we become do-gooders or some, Pollyanna people. It's that we expand in our being, who we are as people and how we perceive ourselves. That's what starts to happen. Yes? Sunanda, I think you have your hand up, or is that a picture? I can't tell the way it's come out,
I did raise my hand. It's just my story, Didi. It that connects so much today about um classified by our nature. So for me, creativity, expression was my nature. So I would always choose, going towards design or interior design or something. And my father pushed me into becoming an electronic engineer in those days. Um, I was completely out of place there. Anyway, there is a story of me regretting not really listening to my nature and going this way. But when I watched Hidden Figures, I cried because I saw my dad's vision, foresight about what engineering was going to be like. And he put me there because he wanted me to be one of those pioneer women, coming from where I was coming from. But that regret was there for a long time. But I realized I ended up where my nature really, truly blossomed again. In teaching me, that was the gift in being on the path. That was the nature. But the regret had colored it for a while until it started disappearing. Like I could appreciate what had happened with my parents setting the path and everything, and wasn't really working for me or whatever. And finally showing up here and being myself. I saw that all that regret or whatever it is had just disappeared, it dissolved.
So I want to say something to you. I totally understand what you're saying, and yet I want to take you to a bigger picture, which is that to say that even that, even that not being with your nature and so on and so forth was there to serve you in some way, to bring you to something bigger. We must always see that there is a much bigger, परमात्मा की आज्ञा से ये सब चल रहा है. Not a blade of grass moves without his will. And it's so easy for us to see that I could have and would have and then. And yes, it's true from that one perspective. And then from another perspective, when we look back and discover what happened, we say, oh, you moved me through this for some reason that I could not see. And I'm here, and that's the most, because it brought a certain kind of depth, a certain kind of restlessness probably in you that you can't even articulate in the moment, that allowed you to dig deeper, further, and bring you to something much wider and bigger. So I hear you. It makes complete sense what you're saying. And yet I say, go even wider for all of us. I'm not just saying it to you. This is very necessary and very important. And it's part of what we're growing towards through our conversations together. Okay, good. All right. Let's just close our eyes for a few minutes. And just take a long breath in. And as you let it go, just this sense that whatever has happened in the day has been your wish, and I've been an instrument for it. Good or bad, I offer it all. The choices were yours, the actions were yours, and the results of the day are yours. I don't ask for anything, just you. Have the sense of that higher, greater force. Which is our nature. The remembrance that I am. Jai Gurudev. Okay.